I don't know how long this show gonna be. Just know I got some things I need to talk about. First and foremost, I would like to thank each and every one of you that continues to support the show. I told y'all I was handling some business. Let me tell y'all what happened. Now, because of what's going on in this world, the censorship in particular, where they're kicking people completely off platforms, because that's going on, I must be proactive because I know when you are pro-black and you say some of the things that I say, the moment you get a large audience is the moment they're going to take you off these platforms. So I have to be proactive with that. So what I did to counter that was I had to make sure I build my website. I already own my domain for my LLC, M. Crittenden Enterprise. I already own that LLC. I've owned that LLC for over a year now. I used to have a different LLC, Marv Media Network. I still own that. That's also under a DBA. So I own my stuff. So with that being said, I had to be sure I protected myself in the event of censorship, especially after what happened with Nick Cannon. So I built my website. I got all my episodes on my website. You see, and you'll be able to go ahead and that's where you can go if you want to listen to the show. So I'm completely coming off the old platform. I'm doing admin work, and in between that, I skip some shows to try and get that work done. It is some tedious fucking work, bro. Oh my goodness. So what I'm gonna have to do is, as long as I got the episode saved, I'm safe in that aspect. But I'm going to have to do for the other podcast. I'm gonna have to do it at it's probably gonna be at a much slower rate. So as just continue to upload the new episodes, and then every time I upload a new episode, I just do like 10 old episodes or something like that. Just doing increments of 10. Because that shit takes a very, very, very long time, and we have important shit to do. So that is what I was doing. I know I gave you an episode last week, but the previous week is why I missed that show because I was doing that. And last week I was like, I'm not going another week without a show. So I wanted to come back and bring you a show. Nonetheless, we have some things we need to discuss because there were some things that happened. First and foremost, that Kanye shit. I am tired of people making every excuse under the sun for Kanye West. Every time Kanye West decides he wants to promote an album, he starts talking that goofy shit. And the first thing people do is he's mentally ill. People need to get him help. Shut the fuck up. He's promoting a fucking album. Fuck that. He's making a mockery of mental illness. He's heading to a divorce, which we all knew was going to eventually come. There was no way in hell the Kardashian clan was going to continue to put up with this man in his manic episodes. You see what I'm saying? She got her kids out of him, so she going to always get some bread. And she did what she needed. She used him for what she needed to use him for. And that was for the TV show and for the kids. And there's nothing else to do at that point. So fuck all that, man. I don't give that kind of sympathy to motherfuckers like Kanye. And Kanye is one of my all-time favorite artists. But as a person, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit y'all talking about. Y'all can go ahead and give him sympathy, but I'll take my sympathy and give it to other people who are really struggling with their depression and not using that shit, not depression, but bipolar, and not using that shit to promote fucking albums. Like, that's goofy shit. You fucking Kanye West. You don't need to do clown shit to promote your fucking album. All you gotta do is tweet, nigga. Tweet and say, I'm coming out with an album on Friday. The world gonna go crazy. Wondering what new sounds you coming up with next. But y'all keep falling for it. Y'all keep falling for it. And you know what? That's on you. I won't. I'm not showing sympathy. None of that shit. He can hold his own nuts. That's what he can do. He can hold his own nuts. Hold on, let me see here. I thought something was going on. Hold on. 1 second. I want to make sure this ain't nothing important. Okay. It's done. All right. So yeah, he doesn't get that from me. Just in case y'all hear me drinking, I got water right here. I gotta keep drinking it because my throat getting dry. I think I'm coming out with a cold or something. I had to go get that damn coronavirus test. Never know. So that's me just drinking water. I gotta make sure I stay up to par because I'm still giving y'all this fire. Today, again, I'm not gonna keep y'all long today, but it's important information that I wanted to discuss. And I want to break down the warrior class. You see, we need to establish officially our warrior class because there's some people who don't understand that they are in the warrior class and the way that they behave is not warrior-esque. So we must get them on the path of correction, on the path to correction, corrective action, things of that nature. Now, you got to follow me on this whole thing. Don't take pieces and segments of what I say. Follow me on the whole thing. When it comes to the warrior class is not gender specific. It is not sexual identity specific. It is only specific to the healthy. So if you are mentally unfit or physically unfit, meaning wheelchair bound, autism, things of that nature, if you are mentally or physically unfit, then you are not qualified for the warrior class in this age group. Now, the warrior class is from age 12 to 35, and in special circumstances will take you up to 40. The warrior class is from 12 to 35, and in special circumstances will take you to 40. Now, most people say only their men are part of the warrior class. That's the fighting class. We need women as warriors too, because we don't have the dynamic of family that is ideal to what we're dealing with. So we can't leave those women on their own. We have to help them understand that they are also in the warrior class. You may not need to fight. You may not need to fight as far as our women in our warrior class, but you need to understand you need to fight. Follow me. Follow me. Let me give you an example. There's been videos sprouting up of women getting busy on these suspected white supremacists. Seen a video in the airport where some women were antagonized, some black women were antagonized, and they dusted up a white man and a white woman. I seen a video of a black man in a fight, and he was about to get jumped, and his black woman at the grocery store, if I'm not mistaken, in the parking lot. And his black woman came and helped and started dusting everybody up, including who he was fighting. Now, I was kind of looking at him like, brother, you got to get on your game. You got to get on your game, brother. When I saw that. But at the end of the day, his woman was able to help him hold it down. What I mean by that of warrior class and why I say it's not gender or sexual orientation specific, because everyone has a part in this fight. In the warrior class, if the men are supposed to be the direct fighters, that's fine with me. But women, you need to be the supporters of that fight. That means if a man needs healing, he needs to get decon. Women, you can help recon, which means they're going to let black women in certain spaces that they are not going to allow black men. As black women, you need to be doing recon while you're in those spaces. You need to make sure you're bringing back information, useful information back to us to help us in the process of moving forward. So that's why I say women can be in the warrior class as well. So can the LGBT community of the black community. I know there are some people who say, hey, there's no room for LGBT in the black family. But I'm of the ilk that there's no stopping that. So there's no way the people who are going to be straight are going to be straight. The people who are gay are going to be gay. There's no way to stop that. There's no stopping that. So to ostracize these people makes no sense. There's no way to stop that. So what we need to understand is that's what it's going to be. How are you going to be useful in black empowerment? How are you going to be useful in black empowerment? If they're going to let you in certain spaces that they're not going to let me as a straight black man, if they're going to let you as a LGBT or as a black woman in certain spaces, y'all need to get that information and bring it back to us so then we can go ahead and stay gamed up too. And in return, us as the fighting class need to protect them. We need to protect black women at all costs. This is going to sound like a little bit of a dressing down, but I need to get to this because what's been going on personally in my city has been affecting me. And I know it's been going on around the country and around the world for a very long time. But we have to, this is just a thing. I always told y'all there's no such thing as black on black crime, just crime is by proximity. That still stands with me. So with that being said, the proximity of crime in my motherfucking neighborhood, in my city, is unacceptable. Especially the fact that we are killing each other. This is unacceptable. We want to better ourselves as a community. If we want to do that, we don't have the tolerance or we don't have the level of acceptance for that kind of shit to be going on if we want our kids to be better. We want our kids to do better. We can't afford for y'all to be out here acting like fucking fools. I told y'all, I've always said this. Don't include dusty niggas and hood rat women with black folks. They're separate. That still remains true. But this is happening a little too often. This is going on a little too much. It's going on a little too much and a little too often. So what we need to do is address it. How do we slow it down? There is no stopping it. When there's poverty, there's crime. There is no stopping it. Stop the bullshit. There's no way to stop it unless you are going to eradicate poverty throughout the entire community. There's no way to stop it unless we eradicate poverty inside the entire community. And there's no way to do that living in a capitalistic society. There needs to be rich people, there needs to be poor people in order for capitalism to work. Otherwise, we are in a socialist or a communist society, which will never happen in America. So how do we slow this down? We have to change our culture. We have to change our culture. Our culture says if you are born poor or in a poor situation, whatever the case may be, you need to climb out of that poverty as fast as possible and by any means necessary. We're starting to realize that those means, we knew this already. We knew better. We're realizing that those means haven't been productive in our community because we have limited ways of making money. So when you poor, you can't go to a local shop in your neighborhood when you're black and poor. You can't go to a local shop or a local business owner and say, hey man, can I come sweep up? Can I clean up? Can I do what is this for some money? Can't do that because we don't have them. So when you 10, 11, 12, you can't get working papers. You can't get a job till you're 16. Technically, when you're 13, 14, you can get like working papers and do like little stuff like that. But for the most part, most people are not getting a job until they're 16 or later. You know what I mean? So if that's your circumstance and you can't, you starve? See, a lot of people don't understand when this stuff happens to 11 and 12 and 13 year olds. People in my family, they told me I started selling weed at 13. By the time I was 16, I was already selling crack. You see what I'm saying? So that's not just some admiration. It's just the circumstances that we are born into. You can't control what you're born into, but you can control what you grow into. You see what I'm saying? And the problem is a lot of times these OGs that come from the street, y'all niggas is waiting till y'all 50 and washed up to try and come game the kids up. When you ain't got shit to show for, you're 30, 40 years in the game. They don't want to fuck with you. What they want to fuck with you for? You 35 years in the game, you ain't got shit to show for? But stories and do better? Niggas don't want to hear from you. They don't want to hear from you, man. And you shouldn't be waiting till you fucking 50 to say something. Especially when you know the game been fucked up. You know the game fucked up. Why are you trying to get more? Like, what type of shit are you niggas on? The game is fucked up. There's nothing a part of the game that needs to be continued on at this point. Niggas need to be worried about the illegal marijuana that's about to hit these streets and hustle the fuck out of that shit if you niggas want to get into this drug game. If that's what you so desire. But telling these kids to sell fake pills, sell heroin, sell cracks, that shit is dead, yo. What are we talking about? So we can't be a warrior class if we're unprepared for battle because we too busy killing each other. Doing stupid shit. We can't progress financially if we don't have the proper mindset when people are coming up. What I mean by that is when you see somebody has a business and you a hater and you decide to kill them because you want to rob them or whatever the case may be because you see they doing their thing, that's some hater shit. That's some sucker shit. That's unacceptable. Those are the things we need to contend with. So when we talk about this warrior class, because this all ties in, the fighters can't be fighting each other. We have a bigger issue. I'm hearing about y'all running down on each other, but we got people that's killing our babies in cold blood and ain't nobody running down on them. And y'all supposed to be street niggas? What part of the street game is that? What part of the street game is that? Maybe I'm ignorant to how it works these days. Seems like it's more like dog eat dog world out here now. Rob Peter and pay fucking Joseph. Or whatever the fuck y'all out here doing. I don't know. I know y'all killing each other. I know that's not working. I know there are kids growing up. Now you putting them in the cycle that you were in. Because you killed somebody or you got killed. So if you kill somebody or you got killed, your life is gone. Now your kids is sitting here with no father, just one mother. It's only so much that she can provide. So now your kids growing up in poverty, and what the fuck you think they're going to do to get out of it? Especially when some stupid niggas tell them that their dad was the man back in the day. Their dad used to have this, their dad used to have that. Telling them all these glory stories about their dad, and they put two and two together and like, oh, my dad was selling, so I need to do that just like my dad was. Niggas got love for my dad, they got respect for my dad, so they're going to have to hold me that pack. They got to give me this, they're going to give me that. They're going to have to help me out when I get up in the game. And them stupid niggas is going to do it. They're like, hey, man, little man made a decision for himself. He got to be a man someday. They doing that for 12, 13, 14-year-olds. That's why the warrior class starts at 12. We got to save them from that shit. They need to go into training from the time they born. But once they hit 12, they enter the warrior class. That's now practical training here. It's no more theory training anymore. You do theory training from the time they born to the time they turn 12. Once they hit 12, it's time for practical learning. When they out of elementary school, they will deal with physical violence against them. They deal with psychological violence or psychological strategies against them in the elementary school, because that's when they try to identify them with the ADHD and things of that nature to try and get them on Ritalin, get them on medicine, get them in a special ed class, school to prison pipeline. They try and get them in elementary school. So you got to prepare them for that first, And then once they hit 12, once they get out of elementary school, they typically don't do it once they get out of elementary school. They sometimes can catch you late, but by the time you out of elementary school, if they ain't got you in that space, you pretty much, on to the next level. But by that time, you got to now start thinking about physical violence against you. Tamir Rice was 12 years old when the cops rolled up, pulled their guns out, and blasted him for having a toy gun. And they said they thought he was a man. Trayvon Martin was 15 when he was murdered, and they said he thought he was a man. And that's the way they painted him when the media was talking about the story. That's the way they painted Trayvon Martin, as a man. 15-year-old man, 12-year-old man. That's what they did. That's what they did. So you can't hide and protect your child until they're 18, because that don't work. They are a target from the moment they born, and they're a bigger target by the time they hit 12. So they are in the warrior class at 12 years old. There's no fighting that. You need to understand that as a parent. You need to get that through your head. I understand that's your baby. I understand that's your precious little child. But you need to understand your little child needs to go live in this world, and this world has a target on their back, especially from the time they turn 12. So from 12 to 35, they are in the warrior class. But after 35 don't mean you become an old nigga and go kick your feet up and not do shit like the previous generations did us. After that point, you turn into counsel. You got to game these young kids up. The village mentality needs to be in full effect the entire time, especially after you get out that warrior class. You got some battle scars to speak to. You got some experiences you need to talk about. You got to game these kids up. They don't want to hear it from no 50, 60-year-old old nigga. They want to hear it from a 35-year-old man. Somebody who looks like they can still get out here and get active if necessary. Because you got a 5-year window point. You see, you got to start thinking military in the terms of military, because you see in the United States military, you have an 8-year time frame after your discharge. So you can finish up your contract, but if something happens within those 8 years, you're eligible to be yanked right back. We got that same thing. You got a 5-year window where, if necessary, you got to get back active within those 5 years. So you need to stay prepared for that. So you have to think that way, because unfortunately, that's the society we live in. Unless you're willing to change the society you live in, unless you're willing to move to a different society, you need to deal with your reality. And your reality says your child has a huge target on his back, especially if he's a black boy at 12 years old. Because black boys are the face of genetic annihilation. They can go plant their seeds. They can go plant their seeds all over the place. They can go get 100 women pregnant tomorrow. If they want to, they can get 100 women pregnant tomorrow. You get what I'm saying? So that's the face of genetic annihilation. See, if a woman gets pregnant, she got to carry that baby for 9 months, have it, heal. She can only have one baby a year. Not even one baby every 12 months is all she can have. Between the time it takes to confirm the pregnancy, carry the baby, and heal, 12 months. She can only produce one child a year, but a man can produce 100, 200, 300. 365. He can get a woman pregnant every single day of the year and produce that many more kids. That is genetic annihilation. That is the face of genetic annihilation for some of these folks. You need to understand that. So that's why there's a bigger target on the men's back than there are the women. Yeah, they can cut men genitals off. They can give them the vasectomies and stop all that. Yeah. But women, they can just give a hysterectomy. She can never carry a baby again. Plus, hers is a slower progress. On the other hand, men can just... So, with that being said, the warrior class needs to be, it's beyond just fighting. It's people who are in the fight. When you go to war, there's medics, there's scouts, there's mine sweepers, there's air support, there's radio command. It's like a well-oiled machine. Same thing applies. Yeah, the men should be the fighters. Women are there for aerial support is what women should be. Women should be aerial support. The old people are radio command. The generals are the 35 to 50 range people. They may need to come back out there if they need to. You see what I'm saying? We have to get into that mentality of what we're up against because we're in the middle of a race war. People are flexing their powers. And everyone wants to make sure they put their boots on the neck of the black community to let them know, don't you think about getting your ass up. We right here. And some of y'all are falling for it. Some of y'all are letting your necks get crushed. Some of y'all don't care. Some of y'all are just different. Some of y'all are scared. I see too much of this. Like Lil Baby said, black people can be racist too. Some of y'all are scared. Some of y'all think y'all getting a little too radical, so y'all got to ease that up. You're like, oh man, I don't want to mess up this opportunity or that opportunity. I don't want to mess up this money and that money. Get paid, young nigga, get paid, but eventually they're going to remind you a nigga. Still nigga. Go listen to the story of OJ by Jay-Z. He's telling you what just listen to the hook. It don't matter what kind of black person you trying to paint yourself as, you still going to be treated as a nigga. Understand that. You don't have to look at yourself as a nigga. You can look at yourself as a black person, black woman, black man, whatever you want to call yourself. They're going to look at you as a nigga. You need to just understand how you're going to be perceived by some people and understand how to move around that. Not through it, move around it. Don't go through that mess. Move around it. You only go through things you have to. You understand me? So you need to identify that. Be able to identify who's in the warrior class. If you see somebody lacking, especially these young people, you pick them up, you game them up. If you ain't got game, go get game. Because that's a lot of problem. You niggas ain't got no game. You niggas, listen, I just turned 30 years old. My birthday was on Monday. July 20th is my birthday. I just turned 30 years old. You niggas that don't got no game, go get some game so you can game these kids up. Teach these kids something, because if you niggas don't, y'all useless. You useless. You bring nothing to the table. Nothing. I want you to think about that. Like I told y'all, man, it wasn't going to be a long show. Make sure you follow me on all social platforms, HVO Marv. I'll be on Twitter talking crazy, having fun on there too. I'll be on Instagram promoting my music, things of that nature. Make sure you go stream HVO Marv on all streaming platforms. I would definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate y'all tuning in to this week's episode of Unorthodox Logic with Marv. You notice I took off Marv Critton and I just put Unorthodox Logic with Marv just to shorten it up a bit. You know, can't have too many long titles. I understand that. But anyway, thank you, man. Make sure you hit that Patreon. The link is in the description of this broadcast. If you're watching it, listening to it, however you're doing it, the link is in the description. Check me out. I appreciate it. Make sure you share with a friend, share with a family member, share with 3 people. I need everybody just to share with 3 people is the magic number. Tell 3 people to go check it out. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. I'm expecting a 30% conversion rate. So one of the 3 people are going to like it. And I'm okay with that. As long as y'all tell 3 people. We can get this shit big. We can get this shit spread it, and we can start doing some much bigger things. All right. I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. We'll holler next week.